tell me how to do something.
Okay.
Okay, brilliant.
All right, we're recording now.
Okay, so okay, I pick up this technology really slow for some
Okay.
reason.
So do I.
So what's that?
I said so do I.
Okay, so I did my album covers, but I need you to show me again how to turn them in and replace your mock-ups with my work.
Okay.
See, because what I have to do is I have to go through and review it again and write down every step.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let me do that. It'll take me like 2 minutes to go through, and we'll let the others float in. And I'm sure you're not the only one that potentially has it. So let me just get my Photoshop up.
Because this way I can look at it later and take my time with it.
Yeah.
And good afternoon to everybody.
Hello. All right, so all right, just give me a second here. So we've got the okay. So you have the it'll look the same. I have different artwork. It's already been dropped in, but we have the template file. Okay. And then you also have, and we'll open up one. You have the finish file. So you've made your work. Let me get this open. And then, like I said, I would save it as a JPEG. That way it flattens it and gets rid of all the layers, because it's going to make it so much easier to bring into your template. So as you see here, we've got it all done. Well, actually, that one's, we want to do it without. So let me open up one that's okay. So here it is. So you'll have it all flattened out as a JPEG, just kind of a square. All right. So I'm going to select that. Command A, Command C, which will copy it. I'm going to come back over to my template, and we're going to work on the cover. So we just drop it down and it says your design here. Open it up a little bit so everybody can read that. Your design here. So just going to double click on that. That opens it up into basically a new template file. And we're going to assume that it comes in looking like this. It should look something like this in the original. Okay. So now all we have to do is paste it in. Okay. So all these other stuff will get turned off. It's no big deal. I'm going to Command V, which is paste. And I'm going to Command T, which is going to transform so I can size it. And I'm just kind of scaling it down to fit onto the screen. I think I might have twisted it a little bit. I did distort it a little bit. So we'll call that good there. Let me just fix that back. Okay, so there is the file. So over here, I can turn off all these other layers because they're not doing anything. And then I just hit save. And when I hit save, it's saving it into this template file. I can close this window and I'll see that it came back into here with that new updated image. Okay, and you're just going to go through that 4 times for each one of your records, or the front, the back, the front, and the back. So each time, okay, we're going to do it. We're just going to save, and we're going to save a copy, because here this is where we're going to make it a JPEG, and we're going to just call it, what do we have? Billy back. Okay, and that's a JPEG. And it's going to go into there. I'm going to make it, oops. And hit save. So now it's going to be saving it over. And I always want to save at a max file size. And then I can submit that, take that and make it into a PDF. So we're going to have all of our files together. So we did that 4 times, for example. And we're just going to want to create, and we can create combined files into a single PDF. And we're just going to add the files, or you can drag them in from your folders. For me, it's easier just to go here, desktop. Here we go. And then we can add them. So here's Billy back. We're going to add that in. So we just made, and we're going to add some additional files. And I'm going to put these in also. And you're going to have basically 4 files. And again, you can move these around in order. So if you want them to go someplace else, just kind of drag them over and they will move. How is it moving? Oh, there we go. So we can just kind of move them around however we would like. And then when we're done, we just hit combine. So they're going to basically take all the JPEGs. In this case, you'll have basically 4, a front, a back, a front, and a back, and you're going to combine them. Acrobat is working its magic right now. Just another second.
So is command the same thing as control on a PC?
Yes. Yes. And remember, on all of those, there's drop down from the menu also. So right now it's just called binder 1. So it'll typically call it a binder. So you just have to hit save. And it says save as a PDF. And then where do you want it? I want it in the same place it was. If it's a new folder or someplace else, you click different folder, but I'm going to put it in the same one. And then I'm just going to name it with put my name on it. This way. And just call it Thursday. Okay. And you can do Thursday album. That's fine. That way I know. So when you email it, it's going to have your name. It's going to have Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday. That way I know where you are. So I know how to save it or where to save it to. And then hit save. Boom. And then you'll just email that into me. And it should be a pretty small file at that point. It shouldn't be large. It should be very manageable as a file to send through email. Okay.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, other questions before we get started?
And when will this?
Yeah.
And when will today's video be up?
Well, I'm recording. I'll get it up tonight. I got the other 3 uploaded. So I got our Tuesday up, and I got Monday, Wednesday. I'll uploaded all of those to YouTube like an hour ago. It just takes time sometimes. And then I got to put them on the website. So I'm going to say I'll have it up tonight. Let me just tell you that. I don't want to say what time tonight, but I'll get it up tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Other questions before we get started? So today what I want to do is I want to go through just a demo of building this logo. And I'm also going to get up the spec sheet for this logo project. It'll be due in approximately 2 weeks. I'll give you a hard deadline and the hard parameters around it. But I want to kind of just take you through how I would do this. Okay, so just kind of talk you through it, and I'll demo as we go with that. So to do that, I need a couple of names for travel agencies. So I need a couple of people just to type in potential names for a travel agency. So we have something to start with. So feel free to type some in, and we will pick one.
What about Trans Am?
What's that?
I was gonna say Trans Am.
Type it in so I can see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just type. We're gonna get a couple of those, and then we'll pick one, and then we're gonna just do Trans Am. Okay. Who else has an idea for a travel agency? Big Airlines. Cool. All right. Who else? Give me a couple more. Ichiban, Japan. Okay. I'm going to ask the Ichiban. Is that am I saying that right? Does that have a meaning?
Just means number one in Japanese.
Number one. Okay. Okay. Rest away. All right. Rest away. I don't know something about rest. I know. Yes, it's resting, but all right. So I'm gonna do a eeny meeny miny mo and select. All right, Trans Am was selected. Eeny meeny picked it, man, not me. So let's get going. We're gonna do a logo for Trans Am. Not the car, but the travel agency. I'm just going to take it through. So first thing I do was I want to just kind of write down the name. So I have it. And we're going to bump that up. So we've got that as a, that's just going to be our starting point. We're going to go. Now, as we saw in the Aaron Draplin video, I always recommend, and I also say sketches are cool. I mean, the sketches, here's a sketch I did the other day. Like, what is that? Well, that's a sketch for me. Okay, it's not for anybody else. It's just to kind of remember something. And I'm going to clean it up and work it up from there. But you got to have the ideas. So it's much, much quicker to sketch it all out, draw it out. You can do it on Post-its, you can do it on plain white paper, you can do it in your trusty field note book, whatever you have, whatever you use is perfectly fine. But as you're going, as you're starting to think here, use that as a tool. Okay, use that as a tool, and that's going to be kind of a starting point. So one thing I'm going to do also is I'm going to kind of get into the internet, and let's just kind of do who is this? Trans Am. So I want to just first to see if there is anything Trans Am. I don't know. Besides the car. Awesome. They have the Trans Am logo. So again, I'm not going to say I'm going to use Trans Am logo, of course, but there's something about it. There's like kind of this Phoenix look. There is some kind of reference there. I mean, many people do know this. I'm not sure if y'all kids know this logo or know the car as well. But there's something there. There's me washing my car on the weekends. So I can't believe they put my picture up on YouTube like that without my permission too. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, Pan Am was something for Pan Am that was already an existing, obviously, flight airline that went under. And again, we're just kind of making these up. So just kind of want to do something to do Trans Am. So there's maybe something there, but I'm not gonna like spend too much time on it. I'm just gonna type in the word travel just to see. You never know what's gonna pop up. So look, somebody did do something like some kind of school project or something with that. Yeah, nothing, you know, again, just kind of nothing. So there is some kind of Trans Am something. Carriers, Trans Am carriers. There is something. Okay, so there's some kind of company. I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking at that, but obviously there's something there with that. So we kind of have an idea of what is coming up for that. I'm just going to do travel. I'm just going to type in logo ideas. Just period. Just there. That kind of came up. Unstable internet. I know everything's unstable. The world is unstable. And again, what I'm trying to do is kind of get what something it could be. Now, many times, a lot of logos and in fact, you guys are going to be doing, we're going to be doing combination logos where there's some kind of icon, drawing, letter mark, word mark, letter mark up here, and then we're going to do the words with it. Because we're dealing with, we're going to be creating this logo for such a small company, you almost have to do a combination. Like this is a beautiful logo, like just say here for ocean, right? And you could do the waves, and you could put that on the door or on the business cards or the flyers and stuff like that. But you're always going to have, in this case, the kind of the name of the company to go with it, so people can kind of start to get that recognition going. So a combination mark is some kind of icon, illustration, drawing, something right here is, you know, it's nothing much but a paper airplane here. It might be something like a, you know, picture of a mountain, or, you know, a little car on the road or a jet plane, and then your company name with it. So we're doing combinations, and I will spec that out on your mark, on your paper, so you don't have to worry about it. You'll know what we're talking about. So I'm just going to kind of go through, and maybe there's something in there with that kind of thing. This is kind of, love this use of infinity, right? There's kind of this infinity symbol and a jet taking off. That's really sweet. You know, and then there's, you know, other kinds of logos, more like line drawings, which is perfectly fine. Again, I want you guys to imagine and tweak out the idea of what kind of logo is it? Okay, I mean, not kind of logo, what kind of company is it? You know, for Trans Am, we're gonna assume, I'm just gonna assume by the name, the kind of thing, that I'm gonna make it up that it's a company that deals predominantly with American travel, and the idea of a trans-American travel, meaning East Coast, West Coast, West Coast, East Coast, so kind of that back and forth kind of thing. And again, it's kind of thinking about styles and looking at them. So, you know, maybe something like a drawing illustration, okay, combination, or, you know, something, these are kind of really sweet, beautiful, where you've got this and you've got words around it. And I'm going to show you how to do text on a curve today. Likewise, there's text on the curve here, you know, but I think we're not, this is kind of generic in a sense of that. I want to kind of show that kind of crisscross potentially, but it doesn't mean I want to put, you know, the continental US in there. I want to kind of somehow do the back and forth or the trans travel. So I'm, in my mind, I'm just kind of thinking of, maybe I want to find some kind of jet, and I like this jet. I don't know what it can be used, but I'm just going to grab it, and I'm going to bring it over here to Illustrator just for now, and I'm going to select it, Command L, Command C. And I'm just going to paste it over here. This is going to be my working board that I'm going to work with. And I'm going to scale this down just to kind of have it. And I might use it later. I don't know. It's just kind of, there's something nice about that. Let me get a couple more references. I like this kind of curvature. Again, maybe for that trans kind of thing where I'm back and forth. I'm not looking at it for water, but I'm looking at it maybe as like for air, the air flight type of thing. And there's one here, it's kind of even a little bit more symmetrical. Let me take this one. I'm going to use that. Okay, again, I'm just taking these ideas into mind. Let me go back. Put this into Illustrator. Again, as we go, if there's anything that comes into mind of questions, just let me know. Okay, so again, I'm just getting ideas, and I'm going to kind of work some stuff as we go. And I want to get like one more just to do. Something that gives me that kind of trans. just kind of doing, okay. The other thing I'd like is like kind of a monogram. You see those often, and I think they work because they're strong and simple. So again, we can kind of think of a monogram where it's a use of letters or letter forms, and kind of combining them sometimes with shapes to create something, but also if not, they become something. So an example here, there's like, I don't know, this says WA for this company, whatever it's, again, I think somebody's selling it, but there's also kind of like a bed look in there. I don't know. So it's kind of like, it could be like, you know, a WA bed and breakfast or some kind of thing like that. Again, these are nice of how the letter forms are kind of coming together to create things. Okay, so even if we just do the like TM and TM, or maybe Trans-American or TA travel type of thing, and kind of come up with some kind of abbreviation. So it's Trans Am, but we do with a T, or TAT, Trans Am travel. You know, looking at like letter forms and seeing how they can kind of start to go together, I think is helpful. And again, the use of monograms is used all the time for logos. I mean, here's examples here of, you know, Chanel, Coco Chanel, CC, HP, Hewlett Packard, Gucci, okay, even LG here, right? There's the L and there's the G. So this sense of we'll call it letter marks is used all the time, but we're going to be using a combination with some kind of letter mark or imagery along with the words. Okay. Now HP has become so big, or HBO or CNN, that many people don't even know what they mean. IBM. Anybody know what IBM is? I assume you've heard of it. Anybody know what IBM stands for?
Definitely logo, but that's about
What's that?
it. I said I've definitely seen the logo before, but that's about it.
Okay. Anybody know?
International Business Machines.
There you go. Right. So International Business Machines. Again, most people don't, you know, it's like, it doesn't really matter if you know or not, but they've become so synonymous with this icons or these going by initials that we don't know. I mean, people don't even know what the FBI stands for. Okay. And that's perfectly fine, as long as you know the FBI is the, you know, the federal investigative unit, right? The Federal Bureau of Investigations, but we know. So again, it's all the time. CK, people call it that, right? KFC now, right? And think about it, in 10 years, the kids, your kids, if you have whatever, they're not going to know what KFC stands for, except it's the place you go buy chicken. Okay, they're not going to know it stands for Kentucky Fried Chicken typically, because these things start to move. So the idea of using a kind of a monogram or kind of using initials for logos done all the time, and it's very strong. Okay, and as you start to develop, you can start to get away from them. That's, you know, cable news network, CNN, nobody goes by that anymore, or HBO, home box office. They have evolved over time where these kind of letters, this monogram has become a part of it. So again, look at monograms. I think many monograms become timeless. And again, sometimes they're just these kind of sense of shape, which I think can totally work, right? So definitely look at them for the kind of contextual kind of ideas and ways to kind of build things together and to work them up. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily have to just be an airplane. Okay, like this is kind of cool. Like these are kind of A shapes, right? So I don't know. I'm gonna like trying to smooth this kind of. See if I can grab it. Come on, yeah, it's not gonna let me grab it. But they have the A's, right? So we have this Trans Am. So maybe there's something, the T and an A. I don't know. So look at monograms and look at these kind of looks as potential ways of doing it. Okay, I'm gonna just grab this one because I like these. And again, it's when I have something as a reference. And again, you want to spend time doing this. I'm working quickly here. I have to work this through as a demo for y'all. Okay, so we have some of those here. It's quite nice. These are, you know, very nicely done. So they're ideas. They're just to kind of keep us going, and we may do some sketches from these. I'm going to kind of move right into working it up as a lettermark. So again, like I said, we're going to be doing a combination where there's some kind of either letter mark up top, monogram kind of feel, or some kind of icons, and then the words with it. So let me first, I'm gonna cheat real quick because I just need to make a jet, and I don't have one at hand. So I'm gonna convert this over. So I'm going to image trace this. That didn't work because I just want to kind of get this as a thing that I can start to work with for you guys. All right, that's fine. I'm going to expand that image trace. I'm going to ungroup. And now I just have a jet that's here. Again, it's rough, we know that, but we're just kind of working with it. I'm going to scale that, and I'm going to give it a new color because it is vector based now. I can kind of give it whatever I want. Okay, we are in green. I don't know if green's going to be it, but we're going to go with it. Now there is some spots in here we see. We're not worried about that because I know eventually I'm going to redraw this up. So it will work, but I'm just trying to get me some of my ideas done. We have that. I'm going to give it a little bit more turn. And then we had this idea over here of, it's working out again, you're going to work up like this kind of a curve that's going to be like maybe the tail or kind of a wing, again, transporting. So I'm going to start with, to do that, I'm going to do a rectangle tool. And I'm just going to kind of draw a horizontal shape. I'm going to come back and I'm going to round the corners off. So I'm just going to round that off because I know I want it to be that way. And then I'm going to shape it. So I'm going to use my select tool. So this kind of has a curve up and a curve down. So there's a point that's up here. And then there's a point that curves down here. And that curves out this way. And this point will come back up in here. And again, I can use my Bezier curves to kind of shape this. And if I get to a point where it's like it's not working, meaning my anchor points are not the way I need to be, I can come back to my anchor tool here and I can draw that in. So if I just click on that, that gives me the two-handle Beziers. Okay, because right now some of these points are only one corner. And we've got up. I need a double point, double that one. Just kind of draw. And once I get one drawn, I'm going to obviously duplicate it to be the second one. I go up, I go down, and come back up to a point. So I might even take one out. Let me just delete a point just to kind of get this shape going that I want. Get another point in there. All right. Just kind of tweaking it out. We'll get there in just a second. Again, I'm using it as a reference. I'm not necessarily wanting it to be exactly the same. I just want that kind of the idea that thing created for me to kind of get that swoosh going. Again, I'm just trying to add some dynamics to my logo. Switch that up, and I got something going over here. What is that? Zoom in and see what I got. Why do I have that point? Oh, I don't need that point. Let me get rid of that. Anchor, go away. Okay, and I'm almost there. I'm just going to do one more tweak here. I'm going to pull this in a little bit. Now I do need that point. There was one there. So let me add that back in. Just to round it off a little bit. Okay. I'm going to say that's what I like. I don't know if it is yet, but it's for now. I'm going to put this up. What my mind is thinking is it kind of comes off the back of the jet. It's kind of like the airstream coming off the jet. And I'm going to turn it down a little bit to keep the angle going. And I'm going to duplicate it, hold the option, just going to drag another one in. And they're coming off the second panel, something like that. Okay. I'm going to pull this to the front just so it's on top of any of that blue. Again, I'm just kind of working it. This obviously will change and need time to be revised and tweaked. And I'm going to Command G to group those things. And again, all of these command things are all up here, right? So there's group, Command G, ungroup, and I do transform or Command T. So all of the tools, everything I'm kind of doing, you see that, and you can look at the keyboard shortcut. I only do the keyboard shortcuts on the ones I do a lot. Otherwise, I'm just kind of, I'll do the drop downs. Okay, so now I'm going to copy the word Trans Am, and I want to kind of start to look at this and see how it looks with some different types of fonts. And I'm just going to kind of open up my font menu, and I start to see some of them here, and I've got some, it'll do a preview for it. Okay, so I'm just kind of go through and just kind of get a feel as to, you know, what's feeling the way I'm thinking about for this logo. And again, it will, you know, I oftentimes, I'll go through literally hundreds of fonts sometimes just to get one that kind of works for me. And maybe something like this, where we have this, but within that typeface, there are 20 other versions. Okay, so there's like 20 things in that family. So maybe something like trans, and then maybe I want the word am to be in the same typeface, but a different weight. Okay, so we see this done quite often in design, graphic design, where we're playing with it that way. So we're breaking up the two words into, or the one, what looks like visually one word into two, not just in this case by a capitalization of the A, but also by the weight of the typeface itself. Okay, so again, it's another way that we do this quite often. And then maybe you have to kind of think, if I want the emphasis on trans, I'm going to make that bolder. If I want the emphasis on the am, I'm going to make that bolder. And likewise, I'll make it more of a medium or a lightweight. Okay, so there's kind of the Trans Am. Again, we could also play with color. We're not goofing with color too much right now, but it's something you're going to want to explore. So what if, in this case, you know, the words are two different colors? Okay, or, you know, there's a complete strong color, right? That says something there, right? I mean, totally says something different than when it was black. Okay, so we have to kind of visually think these things out. So not only are we playing with different weights in this particular case, we're playing with a hierarchy of color to bring emphasis onto, in this case, the word. And then what's going to happen is typically we're going to put that in some kind of relationship. So now that I've done that, we've got colors that are kind of acting weird. So I'm going to give it, I'm going to make the jet that color, and I'm going to give those winds, the past streams, that color, just to kind of tie it together. Now that one needs to be a little bit, I think we're next one over. Okay, that's close enough. So we have something like that. And now maybe we say, okay, that's kind of cool, but what if we move it? So just make a copy. Again, hold the Option key as you're doing it. And now maybe the word goes here. Okay. And then maybe we want to put in the word travel. Now, one way to make the type the same is if you type out anything, go to the eyedropper tool, and then when you select the other type, it will change it. So as I select this is in a different typeface. If I come over here and I click, you'll see it turns it into the bolder, in this case, the red, or in this case, it goes back to the gray. So whatever typeface I pick, it will convert over to what it would have been. Okay, so just a kind of a good way to kind of work. Like, you know, I don't want to have to mess with it. And again, it's right now not too complicated, but if I start to let out and, you know, those kind of things, I want to kind of make things cohesive. I'm just going to kind of eyedrop sometimes the type tools to do that. And now that this is all kind of done, I'm going to just kind of select all of those, and I'm just going to kind of line them. Okay, so we've got that. And now maybe I'm going to kind of want this. I'm going to do another version. And maybe that new version is simply giving it a frame, right? I'm just going to give it a box around it. And I'm going to flip it to be the stroke and give it a couple points stroke. 4 points for now. I'm going to round it off a little bit just to humanize it. Oftentimes when you kind of round off a box, it just kind of humanizes things, because we're into curves, right? We're all made up of a bunch of beautiful little curves, and that's what this is. And maybe down just a little bit. So as you can see, literally a few minutes, we've got 3 different logos that are working off of this Trans Am flying logo, okay, that we could start to work with, okay? And again, that's going to lead us into something else. Now, I want to also kind of work up a kind of a letter mark one for us. And what I'm going to also ask you guys to do is give me your 3 best, and I'll give you a deadline on those. It'll be before this project is due. And then we'll go through and we'll pick out the best of your 3, and then you're going to go back and you'll revise that into the final logo. Okay, so I'll scope that all out in the spec sheet for the project. Not to mention that I picked out some colors, but you can go through a whole series of this of, hey, I like this logo, but I wonder what it looks like with different colors. And I want you guys to do that kind of exploration. All right. I'm going to just take these words. I want to select them, and I'm going to copy them over. Oops. All right, so I'm going to put those over here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with some kind of word mark. And like I said, I'm really digging these. They're nice. Ultimately, we're going to probably, whoops, I'm going to ungroup those. Oops, connection logs, come on back. And get into that group. All right. So what we're going to probably do is work these up. And again, there's all different types of things. And I want to show you also type on a circular path. So let me do that before I get into the monogram. So I'm going to do an ellipse. Again, a lot of, we use circles a lot in our world. And it's going to give it, it's a stroke, it's a round shape, as you can see. And then I want to do Trans Am, and we're going to do Trans Am on a circle, and imagine maybe in this case, maybe even the jet goes inside. So if we, under our type tools, there is a type on a path. Okay, so you can put type in a circle if you wanted to. It gets a little weird to work with. Typically, you're going to manually do all that stuff. But if you have multiple sentences, you might want to use that. But I'm going to put type on a path. So the path is this circle. So if I just click up here after selecting the type on the path tool, you see it does it. It drops in the dummy text for me. I want to call it Trans Am. Okay. And I'm going to, before I start to adjust, I'm going to change the typeface to something else. I'm going to go with the black, and I'm going to scale it up when it's somewhat big. Now, as I get bigger, you can see I'm starting to get crunched a little bit. I got to kind of watch that. I don't want it to look too out of function. And maybe I will track it. I'm sorry, track it out a little bit. Just a little bit, just to give us some breathing space on that. Okay, so now it's here. Now you'll notice on here, there's like these little handles. And basically if I take this center, this handle, this becomes a center, and I can rotate the text around on my circle. Okay. Sometimes it gets a little weird touching the handles and moving, and it gets all whacked out. All you have to do also is just kind of, literally you can just kind of grab a circle, the edge, and just turn it. Okay, so don't get like, you know, oh, it won't turn, because they get weird. And also, if you want to make it on the inside, you grab that handle and grab it to the inside. You can see now it turns the inside of it. You can go in or out with your letter forms on the path. Okay, and like I said, sometimes it just does stuff you don't want it to do, or it just kind of jumps. It's very, very sensitive to me, I find. But you can do it. And again, if you need to make a little bit of a turn, just kind of turn, just manually can turn. Okay, so we've done that, and I'm going to kind of just grab this mark. So maybe it's something like that. I'll stop moving computer. Push that around. And then we can do, we can even do a second one. I'm going to do a second circle. It gets weird when you try to put two on the same. All right. So I would always recommend doing a second one. And in this case, I'm going to put the word travel on here. Maybe we'll do travel in all caps. And I'm going to select it to be on the inside. Oops. Get it out of the way here. And we're going to pull that into something like this here. Yeah, it's close, just for the sake of doing it. All right, so not perfect, but it's getting there. I think that needs to turn a little bit more. Oops, grab the wrong circle, and that'll happen too. Okay, and again, you can group those all together, so you can move them around. And now you've got even a fourth alternative with it. Okay, again, using type on a path on a circle. So that's exactly how they did this here. This is two circles that they put the type on. Okay, so I want to do kind of a monogram thing real quick too. So I'm going to have a, let me do a capital T. And then I also want to do a capital A. Okay, and those are going to be my initials. And again, I'm looking at kind of what do I have here. I'm already got this sans serif, so maybe I'll do a serif typeface. So I'm just going to select one, and let me just go back to my typeface and find something that I kind of like. Kind of a.
I have a question about
Yes.
logo variations.
About what?
Logo variations. So if
Yes.
you're like designing a logo for a company or something, you know how they have like a stacked logo and then like the regular logo and like the favicon?
Yes.
what are all like the different types of variations that you should like show a company and like their uses?
Well, I mean, typically first you're going to go through, I typically show about 3 variations of a logo, and we'll end up kind of working that process to get to a final logo. So it's like, I'll show you 3 and I'll come back with revisions to kind of keep working it until we get to something that's finalized. And then depending on the logo, that's when we start to do a horizontal one, a stacked one, a vertical one, or in this case, like you talked about the favicon, which is just kind of the icon. So maybe this little jet becomes the favicon. So that, again, the favicon, if you guys don't know, is that little thing you'll see up here oftentimes in your browser, like here, see the little, that's a YouTube, there's the Google, that's the Zoom. So that little kind of icon that's in the, in this case, the tabs, that's the favicon. So oftentimes just kind of very iconic. So in this case, one of these things would be the favicon. So we're going to make a logo where it's a stacked S and T combination. And I'm going to also have the word Trans Am in there. So it's going to be used in combination, and then sometimes it's going to be used separately. And sometimes it could be, again, the horizontal or the vertical, again, depending on the use that's going to be. So that's when we talk about logos. They become more complicated because it's not just one, right? We're doing variations. We're going to potentially play with different color arrangements. You know, sometimes within that, we've looked at FedEx, right? And they have different colors, like for FedEx Ground and FedEx Express and FedEx Special, whatever. So this kind of, you know, Trans Am travel could be many things, right? We could have this red-gray combination for domestic travel, and maybe we do like a, I don't know, green and blue for international travel. So again, we can kind of work variations of color into what that company is working with and help to kind of clarify different areas or organizations within the group or within the company. So that's done quite often with that. So we've got the T, and I want this A and T to be the same. So I'm going to just kind of zoom at the size I want. And then I'm going to select the A. I'm going to come with the eyedropper tool and just click, and it just converted it to the same as I had. And I'm looking to see how the T and A can go together and how legible they are. Okay, like here, that S and T works really nice with how they kind of bridge together. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out what will work from a T and an A standpoint. That one works not too bad. I'm kind of playing with it next to each other, and we can get those to line up on there. Just need to scale it a little bit. Sometimes you gotta just, it gets a little weird. You have to kind of get in there and just kind of manually move them. Zooming in helps a lot to get things lined up. So we're just gonna say maybe that's kind of the first level of it. And I'm gonna just kind of lock them together. I'm gonna group them. So if I grab one, I grab both. And again, as we work, and maybe that comes up here. And maybe that, something like that works. And maybe this, I don't know. We'll go with the red. It's about, I know it's gonna be a bit bright, but we'll go with the red with that. Way too heavy, but that's way too much. Let me don't tone that down. Go with a darker red. We'll pick this, make this one darker red too. It was killing my eyes. Color is good, but sometimes you got to watch it. I was watching football and they had the Seattle Seahawks, and I think it's their home uniforms. I don't know. They're like lime green. Anybody seen this? And it just goes like nuts on your eyes. So watch color, but be careful with it. So we're saying, right, that's one maybe. Let's kind of work it up into another option down here. And again, maybe this is where I put a box around it. Okay. And again, it doesn't need to be just a box. It obviously can be, but we can, you know, we're designers, so we can convert this thing pretty quickly, right? So if I now take this and I'm going to add a point right to the middle. Oops, come on, give me that. And all I got to do is kind of take that anchor, and I'm just using literally my arrow keys, and I'm just kind of drawing down. Now it gets a weird hump in here, so I'm gonna want to kind of get rid of that. I'm just kind of tweaking that up. Okay. You know, we have that. So, but maybe we want to. Obviously, needs a color, whether you want white or not. But maybe it can be a kind of a very, very light gray. A line, arrange, send to the back, and now we have this. We have this kind of mark to work with. Okay, and we're going to keep working it. And again, it may be, how does this, once we kind of figure out this, okay, so how do we make it a horizontal mark? So we've got the vertical, and then maybe we bring that over here. Again, we're just kind of working, duplicating files so we don't mess up anything. And if we don't like what we've captured, we come back. All right, so maybe it goes in here. Okay, I think if we do it all together, I think it's going to be too much, but maybe not. So let me just, make that as an option. Again, just selecting, and I'm making a copy. And as you go, you're going to fill up this artboard. You're going to have to make your artboard bigger. So again, select the artboard and just kind of draw it out. Again, we're just drawing. Okay, we're working, and we're adding a piece of paper. We're making, in this case, the paper bigger. So I'm going to play with the word. How does the word travel fit in here? So I'm going to give it a little space and see how that works. Okay, so again, we're just kind of going through things to do it. Or we'll copy again, and maybe we put that down here on the bottom. Maybe we want a little bit bigger buffer on the bottom. So we're just kind of going through examples of that. And then what we're going to do, again, in a probably weekish, I'm going to have you guys show me like your 3 best. So in that case, you may go, okay, here's one of my best. We're going to put that on a new file. Here's my other one that I really like. And then here's my other one that I really like. And then in class, like I said, in a week or so, I'm going to have you just kind of show me your 3 favorites. And we'll talk about them real quick, and we'll say, okay, you know what, this one's the strongest, or this one's the strongest, or whatever. I would recommend taking that one and working it up even further so we can turn it in. That makes sense. That's what we're going to shoot for first. That'll be kind of like a first send in. But we're not going to send it. We're going to look at it on the Zoom here. You can share some screens to me. But then we work it through, and we would show this to the client, get their feedback based upon what our conversations are about what they want a logo to be, what they want to look like. It's also important to kind of get ideas from the company, from your client. So have them go, hey, show me a couple logos that you admire. Show me a couple logos that you admire from the travel industry. So I want both. I want outside of travel and also travel. So I can kind of get a feel for what they're looking at from a design wise, what we're in favor of. Do that together. And the other thing I forgot to mention early, but the first thing you want to do is you start to get into this kind of meetings and negotiations. And what you're going to do is you want to write up a contract. Okay, so you want to have a design contract. You can download those off the internet. You can make one. It doesn't need to be anything complicated. But what it does is it says you will be designing for, you know, Acme Travel, or in this case, Trans Am Travel. You're going to be designing a logo, and you're going to spell out what you're going to be doing for them with a logo. In the end, So the process I'm going to go through, I'll give you, a couple rounds of revisions. As a final project, I'm going to give you the final logo, and I'll give you the formats. It'll be a Illustrator file, EPS, JPEG, BMP. I'll give it to you at various different sizes based upon what they might be wanting to use it for. I give it, maybe I want to give them a different color variations or a vertical horizontal word. Sometimes I might say, okay, I'll include a business card kind of layout. So you have that to go with. And then I'm going to also have the time frames. Okay, when we're looking at getting this done, because they might want it tomorrow, but that's obviously unrealistic. But we got to have common time frames. So they're not looking for it. They don't need it for 4 months. You want to get it done so you can make some money, or you're thinking, I'm so busy I can't get to it for a month. They need to know that also. So working in that contract will be the time frames, and then ultimately too, what are they going to be paying? I typically take a retainer, and then we'll do up like 40% or so at the midway when we're halfway through, and then I get the final half, 50% at the end. Okay. But you want to have kind of worked out. Again, don't work for free, guys. I know you guys are like, oh, I'm new at this, I'm young at this. Yeah, but you've been studying it. You've been probably doing things, and nobody should be working for free. Okay. If McDonald's says, hey, you haven't been cooking for long, but why don't you come in and work for a week, and we'll decide if we're going to hire you. No, that's not how it works, right? They're going to pay you to work. Likewise, if you're designing, you get paid to work. Too many people undervalue art and design, and they're incredibly important to our culture and society. Imagine a world without art and design. It would be incredibly ugly. Everything would be white wrappers with black words on it. Okay, generic food type of thing. So art design plays a huge thing. What you're going to be creating will become something that the company is proud of, something that helps the company become professional and work in the industry. So don't undersell yourself. Okay, you're worth the time and money. Are you going to charge $10,000? No, because you're relatively new, right? But you should be charging, and you should be getting something what we call a fair wage with that, not something that's not. Okay, I mean, think about it. If you worked at McDonald's, you at least make 15 now. Okay, so you should be at the very, very minimum making yourself $15 an hour. I'm saying at the minimum, I think you should be making 20, 25, 30 type an hour at the least. Okay. And yes, you might be off on kind of your estimates, because it may take you a little bit longer because you're kind of newer at it. But you can do this, and you can see what we've done here. We've got a couple ideas. Some are starting to work, some aren't quite there yet, but we've got a couple ideas in less than an hour. And maybe this takes you 2 or 3 hours to do the same amount of things, but you're going to get faster at it. And again, you're going to be able to work more efficiently and kind of get to the solutions a little bit quicker. So don't sell yourself short. Okay, so charge them some money. Questions? With the questions about the Trans Am travel? I'm not sure about the red.
Yes, I can do a question here.
Yes.
With the examples that you have up there on the top that are outlined in black, how do you do those type of logos?
These?
Yes.
It's basically like this TA. They're basically bringing them together. In this case, they're probably maybe using some pathfinders, or they're actually drawing the letters. Okay, so what you can do is you can start with, let me get the letters here. You can start with, in this case, typeface. If I outline these two things, they become, at that point, shapes. Let me ungroup that so it doesn't ungroup it all. Okay, so right now they're active typefaces. If I select a T, I can change it to a K or whatever it happens to be. And they're together, okay? And I'm gonna ungroup them too. Let me just ungroup so I can show you. Duplicate this. So I'm gonna make this top one. We'll do an S. So we'll do an S and a T just like they did here. Now again, they have a little line in the middle, and I think you could either A, find a typeface that does that, or you can redraw that. And what they've done is they've got, like, in order to make this work, their own black, but basically there's an outline on it. So I'm going to give these both a stroke. So we'll give it 2 point. I'm going to exaggerate it just so you can see it. Okay, so they did that, and then the S, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different typeface, but the T goes on top, and then the S comes on top of that. Okay, so let me do this. I'm going to now take both of these, and I'm just thinking about how I want to do this. Oh, no, I'll do it this way. Let me put that back. I'm going to make a duplicate S just to have, because I'm going to want that. And the S goes behind. And the S goes on top there. So I'm going to leave those two together. I'm going to group them. I'm going to take this S and I'm going to make it a outline it. So I'm going to create outlines, which now makes it literally just a shape. It's just a shape that looks like an S. There is, I can't change it anymore. And you can see I got anchor points now. So I know I need to have anchor points on top. I'm just going to line this up on top. Oops. And it's going to the back. So I'm going to do that. Object, arrange, send to front. And I need to get, all I need to do is get rid of this little part here. So I'm going to actually come in here, first take away some anchor points. Okay, so we did that. And I don't need the stroke on here because I already have the stroke on the other. And I'm going to scale that down just a little bit because I want it to be just inside. Let me just do this. I'm going to give those a little bit thicker stroke. No. So what I'm doing is basically chopping off part of that S and putting it here. Right now, the biggest problem is it's kind of covering up that stroke a little bit. We're pretty close to being lined up, but over here got a little weird. So maybe I can just kind of pull the points in. You see where I'm going here with this. It's not perfect, but. It's not perfect over here either. All right, we're gonna, there's a weird clump in here. Oops. All right, we're gonna just call it there because I don't know how quick it works. But we're basically working it up just like that would have been. Okay, so it's kind of overlapping and building it up to be on top. Okay, so this shape, it's off a little bit, but you'll start to, as I'm grabbing it, I'm grabbing it wrong. Just gonna move it in like that. You'll start to see those lines start to come out and it look like it one's on top of the other. Every time I grab it, I'm grabbing it wrong. You know what, give it a stroke. See, if I give it a stroke, I got to get rid of this down here. So I got to have to match it up, but I'm going to ignore that that's there. And you can see that S going on top of the T. Okay. And if I had to, if I wanted to keep that stroke on there, I could come back with another shape. This is where it gets kind of crazy. But use my pen tool. And I'm just going to draw kind of a shape in here. I'm going to give it a fill of that. I'm going to give it no stroke. I don't know, we're off here with the points, but you can see where you can kind of draw in another shape on top to draw out the shape below. The points are getting off here, but it takes time. It takes a little bit of patience, but you can do that. You can slowly build that up. And once you're all said and done, you can, you can group this all together so it's one. You might be able to pathfind it. It gets a little weird with that, but you can pathfind this into different layers using the Pathfinder tools to kind of blend the modes together. So if I do that, it's selecting there. I'm not sure how it selected that. We'll go through it all. I got to outline those typefaces first. I got to create them as outlines first. So type, create outlines. Now it's all type, and let me just see if I do that. So when I did this, it got rid of those stroke lines, which I didn't want. Okay, but it did make one big unit that can be multiplied and duplicated and so forth. You also might want to do a copy it all over, and I can make an outline of it. That's with the kind of the outline view. Oops. Bring that together. And as you can see, I can kind of have the strokes and I can fill that back in. And I can come back through and slice out points. So if I did this and then I did a unify, well, I got all weird. I'll be able to kind of cut through that. So then I have just the shape itself, and then I can come back and I can give it a fill as I go. Right now, the fill's weird because of how it combined things. Okay, but you can build it up. And that's what you're doing. That's what you're getting paid to do. Like, this stuff takes time. It's not just like 2 clicks. Okay, and doing a monogram takes time. It looks simple, but it takes time to figure out the overlapping and the underlapping and how to even make this and combine those letters into something. And it takes time to research and kind of get ideas going also. So again, you're getting paid for this. So don't work for free. All right, other questions? Did that answer your question, I hope?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. All right, anything else? All right, so I'll get this up online for tonight. Start working on this. So by Monday, Tuesday, you should have, the name of your travel agency. What kind of travel agency is it? It's generic, it's general, or it works with, your agency kind of works with, whole destinations, right? Going to the Bahamas and the hotel and the travel and the flight and everything else. Or maybe it's like adventure travel, whatever. You're gonna have those ideas in mind. So, the name and what kind of travel do you want to kind of focus on? Again, that'll help with the design and the colors and the typefaces and all that kind of stuff. So again, think those things out and start to sketch out and do, and then get into Illustrator and start to work things after looking at some research. Okay. Again, something as simple as one little drawing can kind of send you into a whole area of exploration. And that's kind of what design is, right? Design is exploring and kind of figuring things out. Okay. So maybe apart from here, apart from there, bringing 3 or 4 things together to make something new. That's what design is. Design is building upon the past. Okay. And it's having references, having ideas and imagery to start with. When Claude Monet painted the water lilies, he was looking at water lilies. Okay. He wasn't just like, oh, I saw him 5 years ago, or I saw him last hour. Let me just kind of remember what they look like. No, he was physically looking at them. So you need those kind of references. You know, you've seen your mom a bazillion times. Now draw her right now from scratch, nothing, right? You would have a hard time doing it because the way our minds work, we want that reference. So if you had a photo or she was sitting there, you could do it. Okay, but to do it with nothing, no reference points, it's a lot harder. Not to say you can't do it, but it's a lot harder, trust me. So you want those reference points to do it. All right, questions? Let's see who else came in. We'll get to questions. Jennifer. Questions? Anybody? Bueller? All right. Should there not be questions? Have a good weekend. Work on this. We'll spend some time on Tuesday going through the albums and get you up to speed on that, and I'll get those inputted. But work the logo. I like this. This is an exciting project for me. I think the idea of just designing and doing logos, I think, is a great thing to do. And again, as a designer, it's something you can do over and over again and work. And it's like, and if it works, it works. I swear to God. I mean, it's like amazing what you can do with it. Okay, and and I'm speaking from example of my National Park Geek logo. I've sold it tens of thousands of times, right? I mean, not millions yet, but we're up there. And it's just the logo, but then it's different renditions or variations of it. And it's a patch, it's a sticker, it's a button, it's a pin. A client now wants to maybe make it tiny little coins out of it. And I've already been thinking about bigger challenge coins. So again, it just kind of gets reworked. And that's kind of a cool thing when you can start to do that and start to create things with that logo and how it becomes a part of something else. All right, anything else, guys? Anything? All right, seeing there's nothing. You guys have a great weekend, and we will see each other on Tuesday, right? Keep working with Illustrator, getting used to it. Again, let's get it to be second nature.
All right, I'll see you guys next time then.
All right, thank you.
Professor Daniel, I got a few questions. I mean, the first one, the video for today is gonna be for you're gonna upload it like tonight or tomorrow or something.
I'll get it up today.
I mean,
It'll be like tonight. I gotta get it uploaded. I gotta save it now. That takes like a half hour, 40 minutes to download, to save, and then I upload it to YouTube, and then I gotta put it onto the website. But I'll get it up tonight.
all right, and we can start use Illustrator now for this project right now,
Oh
right?
yeah, definitely, totally. Start using it. Start practicing. Start experimenting.
Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm really gonna need it a lot. I'm still gonna need to like see your videos like millions of times just to get it right.
Okay. And if I'm confusing, honestly, just Google Illustrator, right? I mean, like, we'll YouTube it, right? There's a lot of people that's all they do, this Illustrator also. So, it's good to get different viewpoints sometimes. So, like, I confused you, that's fine. Look at somebody else. Maybe they will unconfuse you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Have a good weekend.
All right, you too.